One other controversial thing that I have adopted, which I kind of like, and I think might appeal to you, dealing with our prison problems and corrections problems, is something called pay to stay. Pay to stay. Now, think about it. You go to prison, why shouldn't you pay some small amount while you're there for your room or your board? Why shouldn't you pay for a reasonable market price for little candy bars and snacks and things like that? So this process, this wasn't my idea. We copied it. We copied it from a county sheriff in Massachusetts who flew out to California to testify in support of this bill. And in his county in Massachusetts, I don't remember the name of it, they have accumulated $700,000 in fees in 2 years since this was implemented, and it was so successful and popular. You know, Massachusetts is a big Democrat state. You remember the numbers when Senator Brown got elected. I think there's only 17% Republicans in the state. Just within the past month, Massachusetts, the state, has adopted this program because, you know, at the end of the book, I said, not saying you collected $700,000 over 2 years. So it's a system that can work. We did offer that bill in the Senate committee, and it was not approved by the Democratic controlled committee. But nevertheless, we're going to bring it back. I think it makes some sense. And, I left an important part out that might be of interest to you. If you don't have any money to pay, which is often the case, these defendant criminals are in jail, they're indigent, that's okay. If you get out of jail, prison in this case, and you stay out and don't come back for 2 years, the debt's forgiven. Say, okay, you stay out, because that's saving state money. We have a 70% recidivism rate in California. Within 3 years, 70% of the felons that are released from prison within 3 years, 70% are back in prison. So this was a kind of putting a carrot in front of the horse, if you will, saying, look, you stay out of prison, you keep your nose clean, and don't commit any more crimes. You do that for 2 years, we'll forgive this debt. It might be $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 that they accumulated during the period of time that they were in jail. Let me take the questions at the end. I'll be through in just a couple of minutes, but you'll get the first question. Don't forget it, okay? We got a potential county supervisor there. I mean, he's got some ideas. He sounds like a good deal. I'll give you the sheriff's name. He's great. So that's some of the things that I've been doing in the legislature. I did want to chat with you for a moment about the other 2 candidates that are in the Republican primary. There's 3 candidates in the Republican primary. Senator Harman, District LA, Los Angeles District Attorney Steve Cooley, and then a gentleman by the name of John Eastman. Mr. Eastman is a college professor, basically, a law school professor from Chapman College in Orange County. He was the dean, actually, of Chapman College. And he has taken a leave of absence from his duties as the dean of the college to run for Attorney General. He, I think, is a sort of a marginal candidate. He doesn't really have a full statewide campaign organization or apparatus on the ground, and he doesn't have much of a fundraising operation on the ground and working statewide as I do, and as my other opponent, Mr. Cooley, does. So I won't really talk a lot about Mr. Eastman. I do want to tell you about Steve Cooley. Mr. Cooley's from Los Angeles County. 22% of Republicans in this state live in Los Angeles County. So he has a little bit of a benefit that he is well known by those folks, but he's pretty much unknown throughout the rest of the state. He just got into the race in late January of this year. I had been campaigning all of 2009, hoping that I wouldn't have an opponent in the primary, and then in late January, both Eastman and Cooley got into the race. Mr. Cooley is an interesting district attorney because you usually think of the district attorney being tough on crime and prosecuting and putting people that ought to be in jail. Surprisingly, as it relates to 3 strikes and you're out, and you may recall that was a ballot initiative passed by us the voters in 1994 that said you get 1 felony, 2 felonies, 3rd felony, 3 strikes, 3rd felony, you go to prison for 25 years to life and you take them out of the system and they can't commit more crimes that they probably would do if we didn't do that. Since 3 strikes has been on the books, we have seen a rather dramatic reduction in crime rates, all types of crime rates, particularly ones involving physical violence, sexual crimes, assault, battery, murder, things of that nature. So 3 strikes definitely does work. Mr. Cooley doesn't like 3 strikes. He went to Sacramento 2 years ago, just 2 years ago, and teamed up with a very liberal, anti-business senator from Los Angeles by the name of Gloria Romero. She at the time was the chairperson of the Public Safety Senate Public Safety Committee, and he tried to get a bill with her carrying the bill for him to reduce the punishment of 3 strikes and weaken it, and I say gut the bill completely. Fortunately, he was not successful in that. When he wasn't successful in that, he decided to try and go the initiative route. He recruited Johnny Cochran's law partner. You may remember Johnny Cochran of O.J. Simpson trial fame. Johnny Cochran's not deceased, but his partner is still around as a criminal defense attorney. And they tried to get the money and the organization together to do a statewide ballot initiative to reduce and gut 3 strikes. And they, fortunately, again, for you and me and many potential crime victims, were not successful in that. So that's one of the problems with Mr. Cooley is that he does have this problem with 3 strikes. It is certainly a distinguishing feature between Cooley, who is a liberal, in my view, a liberal Republican prosecutor, and Tom Harman, who's a very, very conservative, tough on crime, death penalty author, 3 strikes supporter. 3 strikes came on to the public scene here in California as a result of a tragic murder of a young lady in Fresno. Her father is Mike Reynolds. Mike Reynolds is the sponsor and organizer and promoter of 3 strikes, and it was his daughter that was killed. And he started this 3 strikes movement and got it going. He teamed up with Bill Jones, who at that time was a Republican assemblyman from Fresno and subsequently became our Secretary of State. And by the way, both Mike Reynolds and Bill Jones, the sponsor and author, respectively, of the 3 strikes bill, have endorsed me for election to Attorney General, and I'm the only Republican that has received their endorsement. Cooley has not received it. Eastman has not received it. I'm the only one. They know that I'm the one that's going to go to bat for them and fight to keep 3 strikes the way it should be and the way the voters intended for it to be. That's a little bit about, I've covered my legislative career, a little bit about my professional career. I think one of the things that distinguishes me is that, well, why can Harmon win instead of Cooley winning or Eastman? I ran a small business. It was a law firm for 30 years. I have local government experience where I was on city council for 6 years and dealt with all kinds of problems. Tax increases, none of which I ever voted for. And none of which I've ever voted for since I've been in the legislature. Taxes, unions, dealing with the unions, things of that nature, and all of that then helped me when I went to the legislature. So I have a legislative background. I'm in a leadership position in the Republican Party. Steve Cooley, by the way, had never even attended a Republican state party convention, which we have twice a year, until February this year in Santa Clara, next door, was his first one. I've been going to Republican gatherings like that for 10 or more years. I was elected twice in Orange County to be on the Orange County Republican Central Committee before I went to the legislature. I have a very strong conservative voting record.